What happened last night in Manchester it's beyond comprehension. But what happened afterwards in England, after a terror attack took out 2 Jews and seriously injured 3 more in an Orthodox synagogue during the holiest day of the year, besides that just being revolting and disgraceful, and it's the writing on the wall that we've all been talking about for so long, what happened afterwards is even worse. The mass Palestinian protest celebration, the total disruption, not just in London at Keir Starmer's house, but everywhere, literally everywhere. You're on social media, you're scrolling, and all you can see is these violent pro-Palestinian protests. And in addition, you have MPs, BBC reporters coming out and saying, this attack, it's the fault of the Israelis, instead of condemning the problem that we can so clearly see that this is nothing to do with what Israel is doing. This is a radical jihadi problem. England has an issue on their hands. They have too many Islamic people in the country who are trying to Islamize the country. And we see that when a terrorist attack that kills Jews is not just shocking, but it's celebrated and rewarded not just by regular citizens, but by MPs. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I mean, look at this. Expel the Israeli ambassadors now at Keir Starmer. Zara Sultana, an MP, and we've spoken about Zara a bit because obviously she's an Islamist who's an MP in the UK, which is nuts in and of itself. But this is her response to the terror attack. Yes, she did this kind of, any attack on any person is a terrible thing. But guys, multiculturalism, it doesn't work when you have a group of multiculturalists who are actually Islamists trying to take over the society. And the footage coming out is disgusting. But like disgusting. And this is I just recorded me scrolling through TikTok because I thought, you know what? Let's just see some of the content. I mean, do you see these protests? Do you see what they look like? And there's this other thing that's going on. As we said, watch this woman who's a BBC reporter.
For anybody not to condemn this atrocity. Debate, everybody has to call this out. There is no space for Islamophobia, anti-anything, anti-Semitism.
Note how she's talking about the terrorist attack and her response is there's no space for Islamophobia. I'm sorry. Why does that come before anti-Semitism?
Whatever it is, there is no space for hatred and violence. Everybody should be condemning this in the utmost and calling it what it is, which is a horrific, grotesque attack. What the hell is actually happening to our country? Is it partly because our government, our leaders are refusing to acknowledge what it is that is causing this spike in these hate crimes? Because that's what they are. That if it's a targeted group of people in their religious place, which they should be able to be safe without being killed and attacked, that this is a rise of hate crime in general. There is a direct link. With geopolitical issues and the rise of hate in other countries. I blame this on Benjamin Netanyahu. Sorry, because he keeps telling the world that those atrocities that are taking place in Gaza is for the security and the safety of Jewish people all around the world. Can anyone connect those links together? And when things like that are said on a public platform by politicians and leaders, and you're going to get people on the fringe minority that get radicalized by that shit. And
Bushra Sheikh, by the way, guys, she is a BBC reporter. Okay, no surprise there. No surprise they have a BBC reporter who decides when there is an attack on Jews in a synagogue to talk about Islamophobia and how that's Bibi Netanyahu's fault, and forgets to mention the man named Jihad who's responsible for the terror attack. Guys, his name was Jihad, the assailant. Let's discuss a little bit of the details of what happened because I think that's important for everybody to understand. Just a little bit of context. Okay? 2 people were killed after a man drove a vehicle into people and then attacked others with a knife outside a synagogue in Manchester, England on Thursday morning. The attacker was shot dead by the police. This is an article from the New York Times, by the way. The attack occurred on Yom Kippur, the holiest day in the Jewish calendar, where people gathered for services inside the Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue. The British government increased security at hubs of Jewish life nationwide after the attack. Here's what we know. The Greater Manchester Police said they received a call at 9:31 a.m. on Thursday morning reporting that a car had been driven towards members of the public and that several people had been stabbed. The Chief Constable, Steve Watson, said that the officers with the Greater Manchester Police fatally shot the attacker within 7 minutes of the initial call. He said the attacker was wearing a vest that appeared to contain an explosive device. The police later said that the device had not been viable, meaning he was trying to threaten everybody and make them think that he had a suicide vest, probably trying to take hostage or to scare people or to do something more serious within the synagogue. They said the attack had been prevented from entering the synagogue because of the quick response by a witness who called the police. 2 members of the Jewish community were killed in the attack, the police said. 3 others were injured. What they don't say here is they were critically, seriously injured, and prayers are being requested for them across the Jewish community. 1 victim in serious condition was stabbed, and another was hit by the car involved in the attack, the police said. Another later presented himself at hospital with an injury that may have been sustained as officers stopped the attack. The attack occurred outside of Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation in northern Manchester around the time that Yom Kippur services were scheduled. The police said a large number of people were inside the synagogue during the attack, but they had been safely evacuated. And from what I understand, it sounds like the rabbi, and I'm not sure this hasn't been officially confirmed, but the rabbi realized something was going on and successfully barricaded everybody in and didn't allow this guy in. So it could have been a lot worse. Okay? What do we know about the suspect? The attacker is a man that the police has identified as Jihad al-Shami. He is 35 and he's a British citizen of Syrian descent. Okay, he has not been previously flagged as a threat to prevent Britain's counterterrorism operation, the police said, and investigators are still seeking to identify a motive in the attack. I'll tell you what the motive is, you dumb effing retards writing this article. The motive is he's an Islamist named Jihad. An Islamist named Jihad. Do you all know the definition of what jihad is? The definition of a jihad is somebody who trying to take out the enemies of Islam. 35 years ago, this man was named Jihad. And that's why he went on an attack. Now, what we also know is that at the same time, Hamas have somewhat taken responsibility for this, and they are fighting. They were also trying to get other attacks across Israel, and it failed, because in Israel we're much better at fleeing terrorist attack because we're actually aware of who our enemies are, whereas in England, they're just sitting around trying to figure out who they can blame next for this. And I'm mad. I'm mad for so many reasons. I'm mad about the fact that Jews were attacked on Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year. I'm mad about the fact that people haven't actually woken up to why this is happening. I'm mad about the fact that they're blaming other people. They're blaming the Jews or Israel or whatever instead of focusing on the Islamic thing. I'm mad that the country that I was brought up in, England, has turned into Islamic haven. And this is what's going on. I'm mad at the lack of inaction. Not about the synagogue. I think the synagogue attack is a red herring. And that's a crazy thing to say. But these 2 people being killed, besides the fact that it's heartbreaking, it's honestly just the beginning. What do they expect is going to happen when you have these people who afterwards are celebrating like crazy out in the streets, protesting, rioting against for the pro-Palestinian movement, for the Palestinians, against Israel, as if this attack has anything to do with it. I'm annoyed and frustrated at the Jewish community who can't see and who aren't really doing what needs to be done to fight back. I'm frustrated at all of it. It breaks my heart that this is where we have come to. But this is what's going on. Radical Islam, men named Jihad, who are celebrated across Europe for being the martyrs and the people out there who are going to Islamize Europe, are doing it whilst the European people have their heads in the sand. 2 Jews were killed, and you have a BBC report out there talking about it's not the time for Islamophobia, and maybe this is Bibi Netanyahu's fault. 2 Jews were killed, and you have an MP saying it's time to kick out the Israeli ambassador because it's Israel's fault that radical Islamists who live in England decided to go out there and kill people. It's Israel's fault that Islamists who want to kill people did it. Now, I don't know about you. When I don't like another person's country or their government, it isn't my thought process to say, you know what, let me go and, take somebody out. Go kill somebody. That's not what I think. It's not what crosses my mind. What crosses my mind is maybe we need to make a reform. Maybe we need to make a change. And when you're sitting around in England right now, I've seen so many tweets of people saying they're making Aliyah, they're moving to Israel. This is enough is enough. And I think, and I hope and I pray that this is the real writing on the wall, that people can finally say, and I don't know that they will, because there have been so many events up until this point that people should have been able to say, what is going on? But this should be the final thing that people turn around and say, either enough is enough, we kick out radical Islam from our country, we just get rid of it, we just figure out how to do it, or the Jews realize that they're never going to be safe in a country that panders to Islamists, that bring in MPs that think that this is Israel's fault and legitimize it, and think that the actions that should be done after the attack on Jews on the holiest day of the year is the removal of their representative or one of the representatives from Israel, from the UK, because they're from Israel. What is going on? What is going on? I'm so disgusted and I'm so heartbroken. As you can see, I have much less energy today. I'm heartbroken by this whole thing. It makes me ill. I can't believe that my beautiful city that I was born in and raised in is being turned into this. And that the leadership is so just disgraceful that they won't actually call it out for what it is. That, yeah, they'll condemn the attack. We don't need condemnation. We need the source gone. And the source is not Israel. That's just a reason. That's just something that these people think they can use as a way of legitimizing it so they can get away with it. Israel is never going to be a reason why a radical Islamist can go and murder Jews in a synagogue whilst they're praying. Sorry to break it to you. To all the people who can't seem to think clearly, sorry to break it to you. I'm so sick and tired of it. And my heart is with the families of all the people murdered. My heart is just honestly mourning that this is how we begin our year. We're about to enter the happiest time of the Jewish calendar, and they're out there murdering us. They're just out there murdering us because they can get away with it. And that's what bothers me more than anything. Jewish people have been killed over the years, but the response to it is always the most scary thing. It is not about the deaths. It is about the fact that UK could be in an uproar about this right now, and instead it's turning into a pro-Palestinian hullabaloo. And that is so unbelievably wrong, and it's something that all of us need to be watching so carefully. And to Jews in the UK, if you don't know how to react, either you do everything to get rid of the radical Islam, or you make Aliyah. And I don't think there's another option at this point. This is only going to get worse. It's not going to get better. It is only going to get worse. They can get away with protesting in the streets and celebrating the murder of Jews on Yom Kippur. What more do we need to see what is going on here? Thank you for your attention to this matter.